Thank you, and I'm absolutely delighted to be here. I'm just going to put out that I'm not great at multitasking, so I'm going to try and do this speak and click at the same time. So I've been asked to come along to talk about my journey and the Angel Eyes NI. So Angel Eyes is a charity that supports children and young people who are blind and partially sighted in Northern Ireland. Our mission is to create a world where our children can thrive and maximise their potential. And it all began 17 years ago with the birth of my twins. I was already mum to Rebecca, who was 10 years old, and I gave birth early to my babies. They were born 11 weeks early, and they spent 10 weeks in neonatal intensive care. It had been a traumatic year anyway, as I'd lost a baby the year before at 16 weeks. And I was traumatised by the experience of neonatal. If anybody's been there, it's a real up and down journey. Anyway, after 10 weeks, I was absolutely delighted to get my precious little babies home, and we were going to start life as a family together. They were still really small and vulnerable, but I was feeling really positive about the future. They'd made it through their early start, and things could only get better from here. After they'd been home for a couple of months, I went in to pick up my son Peter from his sleep, and I saw that his eyes had started to move from side to side, like the pendulum in a clock, and my heart stopped. I lifted my daughter Connie to find her eyes were doing the same thing, and I knew this was something serious. I got to see the doctor that day, who referred us urgently to our local hospital, and a week later I found myself sitting in the eye clinic there. The children were put through a series of tests by different eye clinicians, and to be honest, I took absolutely nothing in. I was just so desperately wanted them to give me good news. At the end of that, they were registered blind. The consultant told me that they had a rare genetic condition, ocular cutaneous albinism. I'd never heard of that before, and I'd never considered visual impairment for children. Ocular cutaneous albinism affects 1 in 20,000 people globally. It's a rare genetic condition, and I knew nothing about childhood visual impairment. Shell-shocked and traumatised, I went home. I so found this really hard to deal with. I was really angry that both of them had the same condition. 1 in 4 children will be affected by a genetic condition if you're a carrier, so the fact that they both had it was rare as well. I desperately needed help and support. The parenting handbook that I'd used for my daughter was thrown out the window. It just didn't apply. 80% of your learning in the first 5 years comes through your vision. If you see a toddler running about, they're not listening to you. They're seeing how the world works and how they work in the world. All that incidental learning my children were losing every day, and I knew the clock was ticking. I wanted them to make the developmental milestones as much as I could to support that. What I found, to my horror and anger, was the services that I tried to access were adult services. Adult visual impairment is very different to childhood visual impairment. If you lose something you've had, you understand the world in a different way. If you've never had it, it's a completely different experience. So, to address this, I gave my name and number to every professional my children went to see. Within a couple of weeks, I'd spoken to 40 parents. I couldn't believe it, and all were saying the same. They were isolated, they were traumatised, and also, you don't know what you don't know. So they didn't know what services to access. None of us did. We didn't know if our children were going to be Braille users or have guide dogs. We just didn't know what the future held. So in April 2007, we met as a collective of parents, and we set up Angel Eyes. And within 2 years, we'd set the charity up. 15 years later, I have a team of 8, and we provide services for over 850 children and families throughout Northern Ireland every year. We provide that through education advocacy to help our children access the curriculum equally. We provide family and children support to give emotional and practical advice to parents so that they can negotiate a complicated system and make informed choices for their children. And we also provide accessible clubs. This not only gives our children a really wonderful exclusive experience, but also gives them the tools that they know how to adapt clubs and sport for themselves. A constant frustration that I encountered, and I still encounter for my own children, was people did not understand visual impairment. So people understand blind and they understand sighted, but that bit in the middle, people didn't understand. Of the global population, 96% of the global population will have partial sight. They won't be blind. They'll have some level of functional vision. And what I wanted to do was explain that bit. It also was very different. One size did not fit all, and it was very complex. So I had an idea. Now, I am not a technical expert. This is not my field. But assistive technology is definitely an equalizer for our children. That's how they access the world. But I wanted a digital solution, something that was much more sophisticated than the simulation goggles that had been used by other organisations. And these are literally plastic goggles that are scuffed or blacked out in one eye to replicate visual impairment. Well, that didn't really do it. It didn't cut it at all. Not when a child is trying to get educated or you're trying to secure services for them. So I had a plan. I wanted to put different visual functions like contrast reduction, visual acuity, photosensitivity, all these different functions I wanted to create that could be layered together and adjusted to the severity level. So I wanted it to be authentic, and I wanted to have clinical calibration. So I went to see our leading consultant optometrist in Belfast, who understood that this was a real challenge understanding visual impairment. He was delighted to get on board, and we developed a project. Now all we needed was money. So as I say, I didn't have any technical expertise, so to be able to create something in tech, we needed to get a contract with a local software organisation company. So I applied to a fund called Pitching for Pounds with the Halifax Foundation. They wanted an innovative project by a charity, something that would support their community. So bingo, I went and applied for that. And we beat hundreds of charities to secure the funding. So I had this little pot of money that I could now take to build a prototype. That's when we decided to put it into a virtual reality scenes. So we created 3 scenes, typical for a child: a classroom, a playground, and a street. And in that scene, we had our 6 different visual functions that could be layered together and manipulated at different severities. That meant we could help parents actually see through the eyes of their child. Suddenly, the world made sense to parents. They understood behaviours they hadn't previously, but also they were able to advocate on behalf of their child. This was a real game changer. And we did this in the Oculus Go headset. So from that, we understood that we had a lot of work to do. Our minimal viable product had certainly validated our proof of concept, but we needed to refine it and we needed it to be better. One of the things that we did learn was we needed to control it remotely. When we put the headsets on people and tried to explain to them how to manipulate it, it was still quite complicated for them. And also, we wanted to be able to deliver training sessions. We wanted to go into schools and deliver training to teachers and assistants, and also to the dinner ladies, everybody who made up the whole educational experience for our children. So, with our next pot of money, with our next pot of money that we got from the National Lottery Fund, we were able to do some product development. By this stage, we'd engaged a local developer, Dr. Al Kingsnorth, who had specific optometry experience in software development. So now we created a box that we could have a server and a network in, and we were able to connect 10 headsets together. What we really wanted to do was to have eye tracking in the headset so that you can look round a visual impairment. If you've central vision loss and I put something on your head and it doesn't have eye tracking, you can look round it, so it doesn't give you a fully immersive experience. So that's when we migrated the software into the Pico Neo headset by Toby to use the eye tracking technology. Oh, sorry. So as you can see from this is our product development. And then we went out and did some more user trials. The feedback has been absolutely unbelievable. Parents are saying that this is transformational for them, and so are professionals. So I'll give you some of the feedback that we've received so far. So parents were saying things that they've been trying to work out for 4 years, they understood in a matter of minutes when the headset was put on to them. I've got a short video here that I'd like to show you to give you some idea. Oops, no. Sorry. Maybe not. Yes, I think that's our video coming on now, hopefully. No. Sorry, we'll have to go without the video. Sorry about that. Sorry, that's completely thrown me. So, oh, that's it. So this gives you some of the scenes. So this is the classroom, this is lower field loss, and then you're in the living room, and this is advanced glaucoma. So it gives you an idea that there's much more to visual impairment than just how blurry you see the world. So this is with our weather scenes. We have 30 conditions that can currently be replicated in our virtual reality simulator now. What we also discovered when we were doing our trials was that this was a tool that could be used really well for the adult market. Dementia is a big disability that affects people in older age, and you are most likely to have a visual impairment. If you have a visual impairment along with a cognitive disability, if the vision is not supported adequately, then you will end up where it looks like a more advanced cognitive disability, impacting your quality of life. So we set up Empathize, a social enterprise, to be able to exploit the commercial viability of using this product in the adult world, thereby giving 2 positive benefits. One, delivering understanding of the impact of visual impairment to the adult world and adult service providers, but also delivering an income back into the charity so that we can deliver our charitable services for children and young people with a visual impairment. We're really excited about the future.